Wait, she left me for a bartender. I repeated to myself in disbelief, my voice barely a whisper as I sat slumped in the back seat of my car outside the empty restaurant parking lot. My mind raced through every memory, every promise made, every giggle we shared on lazy Sunday afternoons. My name is Marcus Ellis, and not long ago, I believed I was building a future with Claire, a future that included warm nights at my home, shared dreams, and a passion that seemed unbreakable. But that future crumbled the night she chose someone else, a bartender, of all people, over me. It started one cool autumn evening. Claire and I had planned a quiet dinner together at Luna's Bistro, a small establishment known for its intimate ambience and extraordinary craft cocktails. As the night unfolded, she'd been unusually distracted. I noticed her eyes kept drifting to the bar, where a young man with a relaxed smile and a charming demeanor mixed drinks with practiced ease. He was the bartender, and something about him caught her attention in a way I couldn't comprehend. After dinner, as we walked out under the dim glow of streetlights, Claire's hand slipped from mine. I tried to catch her gaze, but she was already on the move, her silhouette disappearing into the bustling night, leaving me standing in disbelief. The next morning, the cold sting of reality set in as I learned from a friend that Claire had chosen to leave me for that very bartender. My heart ached with questions. How could someone I thought loved me choose someone so different? Someone seemingly carefree, someone whose life revolved around the clinking of glasses and friendly banter with strangers. For days, I wallowed in the silent aftermath of betrayal. My phone buzzed relentlessly, filled with sympathetic messages and half-heard advice. I questioned if there was something wrong with me. Was I not exciting enough, not charming enough, or simply not enough of a challenge for Claire? The uncertainty became a relentless companion that whispered in my ear every night. Maybe she never really loved you. But then, something unexpected happened, an insight that would flip the script on everything I had known about love, betrayal, and success. Late one night, as I was organizing my digital photos into an archive of memories, I received a notification from my business app. I almost didn't notice at first, a small alert tucked away in the corner of my screen. I tapped it and, to my shock, discovered that my company had just closed a major deal. You see, behind the quiet life I led after the breakup, I had been quietly expanding the business I'd inherited from my father, a chain of upscale restaurants that Claire herself had long admired. The deal meant that I now owned not just one, but the entire franchise of Luna's Bistro, the very place where our final dinner had taken place. For a long moment, I sat in stunned silence. The irony was as thick as the aroma of freshly brewed espresso in the background at my favorite cafe. Claire, who had left me because she claimed I wasn't exciting enough for her, because she wanted more thrills than a life built on routine, had unwittingly become a part of a larger, much grander picture. I had transformed heartache into ambition, and that ambition had led me to acquire the business where she'd met the bartender who stole her away. The revelation was almost surreal. I remembered the many times Claire had praised my stable nature, mocking those who sought constant excitement. Yet, stability had its own kind of thrill. It allowed me to see the long game, to invest in something that would yield exponential rewards over time. With the resources I now controlled, I could redefine what it meant to be successful on my own terms. I was determined to prove that what she had once dismissed as boring was, in fact, the key to a legacy that was far greater than a fleeting fling at a bistro. The next few days were a whirlwind. My business associates congratulated me on the breakthrough, and the news spread quickly in financial circles. I even received congratulatory emails and calls from old friends I hadn't spoken to in years. But my personal world was more complicated. At first, I thought of reaching out to Claire to share the news, to, perhaps, make her understand that her loss was not a failure on my part, but a triumph of my quiet determination. I drafted several messages, each one revised and retracted until, finally, I decided against it. I didn't need her validation or her acknowledgement. Instead, I channeled every ounce of betrayal and every hidden hurt into proving that I could rise above the moment. I transformed my pain into a relentless drive that would shape the future. One crisp morning, I arranged a meeting with the board of directors for the newly acquired franchise. In a sleek conference room filled with sunlight streaming through large windows and the low hum of anticipation, I outlined my vision for the future. "We have a legacy here at Luna's," I began confidently, "but we also have the opportunity to reinvent it. I propose not only to expand our reach, but to invest in digital innovation that will transform the customer experience." My proposal was met with applause, nods of approval, and enthusiastic discussions about future potential. The success of that meeting cemented my role as a visionary leader, someone who had turned personal betrayal into professional triumph. As weeks turned into months, I immersed myself fully in the franchise's growth. I oversaw renovations, rebranded marketing materials, and implemented cutting-edge technology that allowed customers to have a seamless dining experience. Every time I visited a newly opened branch, I recalled the bitter taste of that final dinner with Claire and the bartender. Now, I watched as diners enjoyed the spaces I'd created, quiet corners filled with charm, open kitchens where chefs celebrated the artistry of food, and digital menus that transformed service into a personal experience. It was more than business, it was a transformation of legacy. Ironically, the very place where our last memory had been forged had now become the symbol of my renewal, a testament to the idea that stability and ambition can coexist. I began to see that while Claire had left me for a momentary thrill, I had built a future that was sustainable, innovative, and rich in possibilities. I often think back to her parting words, "You're just too boring," and I smile now. Because boring, as she saw it, had given me the steady strength and unwavering resolve to build something far greater than a fleeting romance. During one particularly reflective evening at the franchise's flagship restaurant, I sat with a cup of freshly brewed coffee in a modern yet warm seating area. An older colleague, one of the few who had always believed in my quiet potential, sat down next to me. "Marcus," he said softly, "I've seen many rise and fall, but your journey, it's remarkable. To think that the same man who was once dismissed as too boring is now a titan in his own right. I'm proud of you." His words, simple and sincere, echoed in me like a personal anthem. In that moment, I realized that every snide remark, every dismissive comment from the past had fueled my determination to reshape my destiny. Alongside my professional growth, I gradually began reconnecting with my personal life, too. I learned to let go of the bitterness that once consumed me, understanding that her choices were not a measure of my worth. I even reached out to mutual friends and re-established connections that had faded away during those difficult years. Slowly, I built a network of support that celebrated not just my successes, but also the integrity and resilience I embodied. My transformation eventually became the subject of local media attention, a human interest story on how someone turned heartbreak and rejection into a flourishing empire. Interviews, podcasts, and articles followed, each recounting the bizarre twist of fate in which the man once labeled boring ended up buying the very business where his ex had once celebrated her flings. I never sought the spotlight, but I realized that my story might help others who had been told that their quiet, steady nature was a flaw. I became an advocate for embracing your true self, for recognizing that every trait you fear might be your greatest asset. One day, as I sat at my desk, sifting through old emails and reminiscing about the paths I had taken, I received a message from Claire. The subject line was terse, "Congratulations." My heart leaped with a sudden mix of emotions, nostalgia, regret, perhaps even a twinge of satisfaction. In the email, she wrote, "Marcus, I heard about your recent success with Luna's. I'm sorry for everything. I truly hope you're happy now." I stared at those words for a long time. They were brief, laconic, and mixed with both an apology and a silent acknowledgement of my achievements. I didn't reply immediately. I needed time to process, to let the full spectrum of my feelings settle. Eventually, I sent a simple reply. "Thank you, Claire. I wish you the best." It wasn't forgiveness, exactly. It was simply a closure that allowed me to move forward without dragging the past into my new reality. Now, as I look back on the journey that transformed me from someone dismissed as too boring to a leader who reshaped an entire franchise, I feel a quiet pride and profound gratitude. I've learned that true strength lies not in flashy charisma but in the steadfast determination to build something lasting. Every challenge, every word meant to hold me back, has been the building block of my success. To anyone reading this who's been told that they'll never succeed without someone else's help, who's been made to feel that their steady, thoughtful nature is a burden, I say this: your strengths are your own, and they are powerful beyond measure. Embrace your nature, trust in your abilities, and never let anyone diminish your worth. The very traits that some might dismiss as boring could be the key to unlocking a future richer and more profound than you ever imagined. This is my story, a journey of love lost, betrayal endured, and ultimately, triumph achieved by building my own lane, paving it with resilience, and erecting a monument of success where others once doubted me. I turned every dismissive remark, every word of derision, and every moment of heartbreak into stepping stones toward a future defined by my own unwavering conviction. And now, As I watch my business thrive and see customers enjoying the dining experience at the resort that is now the crown jewel of our franchise, I know one thing with absolute certainty. Sometimes, the very words meant to hold you back become the fuel that propels you to unimaginable heights. So here's my message. Never let someone else's shallow judgment dictate your destiny. Use every slight as the impetus to innovate, to push beyond the limits that others impose on you, and to build a legacy that is unmistakably your own. Your journey is yours to create, and when you stand by your truth, quiet, steady, and true, you unlock the power to inspire the world. Because in the end, true success isn't measured by the loud declarations of critics, but by the enduring strength of a heart that refuses to be defined by anyone else's narrow vision.